Bjorn told them to take the red one. Bjorn didn't care whether it was frost wolves or any other kind of essence. However, he wanted the essence of the boss Yeti. Bjorn asked them if they had any problem with that. Carlson nervously said no. Well, Bjorn didn't care whether they had a problem or not. If they wanted it, they had to get stronger. Then, Misha congratulated Bjorn for obtaining the essence and becoming even stronger. Bjorn was confused and told Misha that this essence was hers. Misha was shocked and asked Bjorn if he was really giving it to her. Bjorn asked if there was a problem. Misha nervously said that it wasn't that. She wanted it badly, but she was just asking, just in case, and that he shouldn't take it the wrong way. Bjorn said okay and told her to ask. Misha, now very nervous, asked Bjorn how much she would owe him if she ate it. Bjorn was stunned and confused about what kind of person she thought he was. Then, Bjorn started thinking about the boss Yeti's essence. This guy's essence provided a pretty good stat increase. It increased bone hardness as well as cold resistance, both of which were S-tier stats for defense. The main thing was that it also came with cold affinity. An affinity stat was an essential element for elemental users, helping to buff their pre-existing element. This essence would be useful for several years. While Bjorn was deep in thought about all of this, Misha grew more and more nervous about what he was going to ask for in exchange. But Bjorn kept thinking about the essence. She would also gain one passive skill, which didn't matter much, but she would also get an active skill that greatly increased her affinity when used. This skill had great potential and would become even more useful as they ventured deeper into the labyrinth. Bjorn was making weird faces as he thought about all this, and seeing his expressions, Misha became more and more scared of how much he was going to ask. She grabbed Bjorn's hand and made a face as if she were about to cry. In a trembling voice, she asked him how much he was going to ask for, since he was taking so long to answer. Bjorn hadn't realized she was still thinking about it. He told her that small things like this were for temporary members. Misha got flustered and asked, "Then what are we?" Bjorn asked her why she was hesitating so much and told her that it was enough for him that she stayed by his side. Misha grew even more flustered and said that it was nice to hear, but she asked why he kept saying things like that. Then she took the essence. After consuming it, Misha said it felt a little weird, probably because it had been 2 years since she last took one. Bjorn told her she would get used to it again. Then he asked the newbies what they were going to do. Carlson hesitated before saying that neither of them was going to take it. Bjorn was shocked. They were going to waste a precious essence, even though they were just newbies. Carlson said that it was because Miss Gensia saw that this essence was dropped by the Frost Wolf, so he thought it might not be a good fit for him. Bjorn asked him what he even knew about the Frost Wolves. They weren't that well known. Carlson admitted that he didn't know anything, but since it was a 9th rank essence, he thought a better one might pop up later. That was a bit suspicious, but Bjorn couldn't judge too much from their response alone. Besides, this rupture had a high chance of dropping essences. Bjorn then asked Gensia if it was the same for her. She said that erasing essences was very expensive, so she figured she shouldn't make the same mistake again. She was a swordsman, but she had eaten the Goblin Archer essence before. If one of them had taken the essence, Bjorn would have ruled them out of his suspicion. However, neither of them took it, and their answers were also perfect. Now Bjorn started to wonder if all of them were on the same side and just fooling him. Just when they thought it was all over, the ceiling cracked and a paw emerged. Then the final boss came down, a wolf holding a weapon in its arms, or rather, in its paws. But it still wasn't time to fight it yet. The wolf boss smashed its weapon onto the ice floor, causing it to collapse, and everyone fell down. They entered a special area, and just like in the Witch's Forest, field effects were applied to them. The first effect was hypothermia. Their agility stats were also greatly reduced, and the ice element damage they would take was doubled. They fell into the water. In the game, you would just wait for the loading screen to finish and start already out of the water, though with less HP. But in reality, they were tossed left and right by the currents before being thrown off a waterfall. That was the real reason they started with less HP. While Bjorn was thinking about taking a break to heal up a little, Misha came running to him, crying, and asked if he was all right. Bjorn told her he was fine and asked how she was. She hadn't even been thinking about herself, but when she realized it, she said, "Yes, I also seem fine." The bear guy was already sitting next to a fire. He called out to the others, saying that if they were awake, they should come over. Misha was surprised to see the fire and asked him if he always carried firewood with him. He said yes, since he always traveled alone. Jensia and Carlson both said that it felt strangely cold and that they weren't getting any warmer despite sitting near the fire. The bear guy told them that meant this place might be a special area. Misha was surprised and said, "Like the witch's forest?" She then realized she wasn't feeling cold at all. Her cold resistance was pretty high, so it made sense. She looked at Bjorn and asked if he was cold. Bjorn said yes, but it wasn't like it hurt him. Misha frowned. "What do you mean?" Bjorn explained. "I mean, my body is shivering from the cold, but it doesn't actually hurt." Misha sighed. "You're really stupid." Then she opened her blanket and told him to come closer. He would feel better that way.